The new M1 iMac has a very polarizing appearance, which has been met with some love, but also some hate. For the first time since the iMac G3, Apple's most popular all-in-one computer now comes in 7 different colors. For me, the colors aren't too much of an issue. In fact, at Apple's keynote event back in April 2021, I was pretty excited to see such a radical change to the iMac design, because for the most part since 2010, the iMac design hasn't really changed too much apart from progressively getting thinner and thinner and more powerful with each new generation. The latest iMac brings the new M1 chip into a desktop machine. I'm sure you already know a whole lot about the M1 chip. It's the exact same processor that's present inside of the MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, M1 Mac Mini, and even the new iPad Pro for 2021. For the first time, we now have a 24-inch display, which is an upgrade from the 21.5-inch that was found on the previous generations. This new screen is a Retina display with a 4.5K resolution, which looks stunning and is very bright. There is a new 1080p HD FaceTime webcam, which combined with the advanced image signal processor of the M1 greatly improves image quality, providing the best camera system ever in a Mac. Also with this new iMac, there is a new and improved microphone system. Now, Apple claimed that this microphone is studio-grade quality. Being a musician, I think that's a little bit of an overstretch, but it does sound very good and is a huge improvement over previous Apple products and any other devices I've tried that have internal microphones. Now, this new microphone has got a new technology called beam forming technology, which helps reduce the background noise. So throughout this test here, in the background, I've had my Windows 10 gaming machine whirring away that's super loud and irritating, which is one of the main reasons why I'm switching over to this iMac, and hopefully that annoying fan noise has been greatly reduced by this microphone tech. The model featured in today's video is the highest spec machine with 512 gigabytes internal storage, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and an 8-core CPU and GPU, giving me 4 USB ports, 2 of which are Thunderbolt 3. Just like with any Apple product, the unboxing experience is so well thought out, from the design of the box to the internal packaging. This new iMac has definitely taken this to a whole nother level. Inside of the box, you get your M1 iMac. If you don't, you have been scammed, along with all of its color-matched accessories. The M1 iMac has a tritone color design, and I went for blue. The back of the iMac looks amazing, a lot darker than the images showed online. The stand is a mid-tone blue, and finally the chin is a light blue. I do think the blue on the chin is a little bit on the lighter side than I had anticipated, and I do prefer the darker blue on the rear of this iMac, and I'd have been happy if the entire machine was just in that darker blue and mid-tone blue. With this new iMac, the chin is a huge talking point. I do admit I was a little disappointed to see that the chin was still present on this generation of iMac when it was announced back in April. A lot of the leaks and rumors showed that this iMac wasn't going to have a chin at all, and it did look pretty impressive from what I had seen. But I'm kind of over it now, and I guess that the chin is so iconic to the iMac's signature look. It also serves a purpose for housing all of the internals of the machine, allowing it to be unbelievably thin. This iMac is so thin that a standard headphone connection is too long. It has to be connected from the side, and I do think this is actually more ergonomically beneficial, because one of the worst parts about the old iMac was rooting around the back trying to plug your headphones in, whereas now you just simply connect them at the side. Now, in regards to the mouse and keyboard, I'm going to be pretty harsh and say that these just suck. Fundamentally, nothing has changed about the keyboard and mouse, other than we now have Touch ID on the keyboard, which is a very nice feature. So with Touch ID, you can now activate logging into your computer with just placing your fingerprint onto the scanner, and also confirming any payments when you're shopping online, which is very convenient. Just like with any Magic Keyboard, the typing experience is still great, with a short and responsive keystroke for fast and fluid typing. Unfortunately, this is where all the good things end with these accessories. My major gripe is with the Magic Mouse. It's exactly the same as the old Magic Mouse. Everything about it, other than the fact that they've changed the color to now match whatever computer you buy. Something that's just ridiculous about this Magic Mouse is that the charging port is located on the bottom, meaning that you cannot use the mouse while it is charging. Also, why is the mouse and keyboard still using a Lightning connection? I'm pretty sure that Apple are trying to get rid of this and they've been using Type-C on all of their most recent devices. So why go to the effort of creating a Type-C to Lightning adapter cable so you can use these ancient peripherals with your state-of-the-art M1 Mac machine? For me personally, other than the addition of Touch ID to the keyboards, I think Apple wasted their time creating these flashy new colors and matching cables, when in reality, a design revamp was needed and should have been prioritized for these accessories. One of the reasons why this iMac is so small is because it now has an external power supply. This external power supply is pretty beefy. Physically, it's a lot larger than I thought it was going to be. Something cool about the mid to higher tier M1 iMacs is that their external power supply has an integrated Ethernet port. This is pretty nice because it means you can have a wired internet connection to your computer without having to have extra cables coming up to your desktop. You can hide all of that into the cable tray with the power supply, and it keeps cable management extremely tidy. Now, I don't want to deep dive into my thoughts on the performance of this new iMac. I want to save that for a dedicated video in the next few weeks. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video when I upload it. But one final thing I want to talk about is the white bezels. Now, I'm not a huge advocate for these white bezels. In fact, it was almost a major factor why I didn't buy this M1 iMac. If I wasn't so desperate for a new machine, I probably would have held off to see what the iMac Pro ends up looking like, but that's probably going to be way more expensive than this machine is anyways. However, in the short time with this iMac, there are some benefits that I have seen to the white bezels. The first one is that this new iMac is very inviting to look at. The bright colors and the white bezels, as crazy as this sounds, encourage you to use it and get some work done, as it feels so light, bright, and exciting to go ahead and boot it up. Something minor that is annoying about the white bezels is this black border around the screen. Now, I'm guessing that this is the point where the screen ends and the bezel begins. And obviously on a traditional computer, if the bezel's black, you don't see this transition point between the bezel and the screen. But because of the white bezel, we almost have this bold black outline of the Retina display. It's pretty minor and you have to be looking for it to really notice it. But hey, this is a first impressions review and we have to be pretty critical. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up and also subscribe so you can catch my performance test of this M1 iMac as soon as I release those videos.